I want us to talk about this thing. Conflict resolutions. When is enough enough? In any relationship, there's bound to be conflict. Happy Thanksgiving. It is a privilege and an honor to be able to have Thanksgiving holiday with us here in United States of America for those that are watching outside the US. It is one of the greatest holiday season for us here in America. Schools have been closed. Majority of shops have been closed down for this week and especially tomorrow. My friend, every day must be a Thanksgiving day. And I want to encourage you to do one thing. To remember, because unless you remember, you may not be able to give thanks appropriately. Where did this come from? Where did this Thanksgiving holiday come from? I'm sure some of you know very well the pilgrims came from Europe. People came to this land we call the United States of America for many reasons. Some out of persecution, others looking for greener pastures. And when they landed, they found arable land. They found local people, and especially Native Americans. And there were many people who introduced them, including the Ponaga tribe, who taught the pilgrims how to cultivate. And once they had this harvest, they couldn't believe it. And they had days of celebration. And therefore they purposed to have a moment to thank God, to be grateful for the great harvest and for having come to a land that they would later call land of the free and the brave. This Thanksgiving season was actually legalized by several leaders, including presidents, who made sure that it was included in the U.S. calendar. And therefore it's official. It's an official holiday in America to celebrate that harvest, that settlement in this great nation. My question is, how many are remembering why people gather to be grateful? As a Christian, as a preacher, as a pastor, as a bishop, whatever titles you may use there, you as a believer know very well that there is one ritual we all go back to or we remember, and especially within the Jewish community. It's called the Passover ritual. In other words, it is a moment that the Jewish tradition look back to an event that took place over 3,000 years ago. Over 3,000 years ago. When Israel, as you know very well, were freed from Egypt, there were many plagues that were released to have the Pharaoh let the children of Israel to go. But they would not have it. The Pharaoh's heart was hardened until this 10th plague that came and demanded that all firstborn sons were to be killed. And an angel of death would come sweeping through homes, and any son that was found was to be killed. And for the Israel to have their sons saved, they had to slaughter a lamb, eat meat, but have the blood smeared on their doors, so that when the angel of death would pass, they would pass over those smeared blood doors. And that's how the sons were saved. Because of that act that helped the Israelites get free. Even today, over 3,000 years, the Jewish community would look back and celebrate that act. How many years ago? Over 3,000 years ago. Different historians have different dates, but believe me when I tell you it's over 3,000 years ago, because some talk about 1300 BC, that is before Christ was born. When you add the 2,000, your guess is as good as mine. Over 3,000 years ago. And they still sit down to remember that act. For America, this is a 17th century event, a couple of hundred years ago. And yet, you and I, events of yesteryear, events of last week, events of 2, 3, 4, 5 years back, and for those who've come to this great nation, events of 20, 30, 40 years, the enemy has come to make us forget, and we forget so quickly. And therefore, on this Thanksgiving season, I want to challenge you to remember. Because I see us many times behaving like we have always been this way. My friend, it was just the other day, just in case you have forgotten. We had a preacher here last Sunday who talked about the fundamentals of gratitude. And he gave some few hours. He said it's important that we can reflect on our lives, but remember certain moments in our lives, and then we realize where we are, and by doing that, we need to react. He gave us those methodology or strategy so that we may be grateful at all time. Look at yourself, my friend, and especially those of us who've come from Kenya and Africa, and you are here. Do you ever pinch yourself and realize what you have become? I see a lot of spiritual arrogance, spiritual pride, and I pray that we would be humbled enough to look back and to do several things. Think about you standing out among millions of people. You are among 1%, or if you may, 5% in the world who are up there. Gauge on the way you live, the amenities you have, the house you live in, the cars you drive, the clothes you have, the access you have to many things, including freedom. And it was just the other day, it's just the other year, it was just the other decade. And you will not even imagine. As I said this, I'm even thinking about President Trump. If I was here and President Trump was here, I would even encourage him to have a moment to give thanks. So that on this Thanksgiving Day, I would almost encourage him and tell him, if he gave me an audience, Mr. President, look at what befell you. Look at what everybody said about you, that you could not go through because of the accusation you had. People are afraid. And here you are, for reasons best known to God, and of course to those who gave you votes. You are the president in waiting. I'm sure deep in your heart, because I know you fear God, you have something to thank God for. When you look at all the things that were listed and seeing here you are, there is a cause to thank God. For our president back home in Kenya, he reminds us, and I remember his tears when we see his picture of when he was a herdsman, a guy who took care of his dad's flock, a young man with a Bible, one who kept chicken. And then when you look at yourself, no wonder you cried when you and the fourth president realized you had the presidency. Tears were all over you. You couldn't believe. In fact, I'm reminded of a clip we found where President Uhuru and you are like saying, "Oh my goodness, can you believe?" And I think one of you kind of made a joke. What if somebody came and told you it was a joke you never won? Remember that? And here you were with a mandate of people. Let me leave President Trump and President Ruto alone. I was just using that as an example so that they should also have a moment to be grateful. And you know, when you show gratitude, you know what that does? It humbles you. It humbles you as you ask yourself, why me? Out of the many, me. And for those who are from Kenya and other parts of the world, have you ever wondered, out of many, you, could you have imagined? Could you have imagined? Realize where you are. And you know how you do? Just look at your life, look back, and people who you may have left back. People who are in the situation that you were 20, 30 years ago. You could be them. There's nothing good you did to deserve where you are. Access to clean water. Access to a safe country. Access to the highways. Medicine. God forbid, but if you hit 911, see how they compete to be there first to show that they are the better service provider, the police, the ambulance, the fire. Back home, you don't know where they would pass, because I remember sometimes I go to Kenya and you realize even the ambulance is begging to find a place to pass, and people don't care. Here, everybody gets away to just allow this call that you've called to come for your rescue. I just remember, and it's always good to be grateful to where we are, my friend. I just remembered one day I went to bury one of us. And I'm here trying to negotiate, because the driver was supposed to drive us to Nyeri to take our brother, had gotten into an accident and had lived in America for a while, and I have the family of the deceased here, and I'm negotiating from Leave Funeral Home Friday morning, and the guy carrying the body is just trying to find ways you drive. And I remember the wife of the deceased wondering, wait a minute, I wish the hair should be slower. And I reminded her that we're in Kenya. You negotiate, you find your way. And when I reflect here in America, the traffic stop, both side, they don't have to. They stop on the way. The dead eye is coated with the police. I look at that and I try to compare other places, and I'm like, do we even realize what privileges we go through? That's just an example of what I see in my ministry. The honor. And when you compare that to what you know back home, you can't help but to thank God. So what are you thanking God for in this Thanksgiving season? Go back home, my friend. Not literally, but I'm telling you to remember. This morning we had to have early lunch for obvious reason because some of us are going to be busy tomorrow. But I saw a basket of fruit. We had the apple. And there's this fruit. I've forgotten what it is. A lot of them. And I looked at them. I didn't tell the family, but I said, I know some of these fruits gonna lot because we're not gonna eat all of them. And I know some of them will be thrown away. Then I remember there are people who have no idea where their meal of tomorrow come from. Leave alone medicine to take care of their ailment. And when you reflect about all these things, what about closet? Where some of us go there and you struggle, you take 10, 15 minutes. It's like clothes are telling you, wear me, and you are like confused. Actually, I hear some women calling their friends, help me to know what I should wear. I'm kind of conflicted. I don't know which is which. Then you have all those choices. And it was just the yesteryears. On this Thanksgiving, would you please remember? Because until you remember, you may not be able to appreciate the gift of life. It doesn't have to be something miraculous out there. The fact that you are breathing. Those of you who are in the nursing, I'm sure you are better witnesses than us out there. This person that is waiting for you to turn them so that they don't get sore. There are those waiting that they didn't be fed. They cannot breathe on themselves. Some of them are so embarrassed that you have to wipe them. They can't walk. I hope you take those opportunities to observe that and ask yourself, why me? Why should I be the one offering services? Because I could be on the other side. Ponder over that, my friend. And don't you ever judge, make conclusion because some of these people don't apply to be in those situations. Let it humble you. So Thanksgiving moment is a moment of being humble. Be thankful when you remember. It is a moment of appreciating uplifting other people because there's a reason for you to be in that position, advantageous position, so that you may help other people up. It is not time for arrogance. Because many of us look at others down and laugh at them. It is like it is our own making. How many brighter people have we left out there? But you, among many, you find yourself fortunate. What are you going to do about it? Some of us have been endowed with intelligence, access to information. What do we do with it? We become arrogant. We mutilate others instead of putting them together. I pray that this Thanksgiving will find you with a contrite heart. But not just a heart that is saying thank you, but one that must act to elevate somebody who is down. And for those of us who has extra $10 as a way of showing gratitude, surprise somebody. with no agenda, and be a blessing. This nation we call it the United States of America is a giving nation. Part of the reason maybe why God keeps blessing it. And that's why some of us are here. Because it's a blessed nation. Otherwise, if it were not, I don't think we'll be here. We'll be back home in Kenya, right? There's something this country offers. So let us behave like grateful people. And when somebody, I can't live without saying this, even for the little thing, you as a mother, you know, people are depending on you. They say, Mom, is there food? Or your husband comes and calls you, whatever name he calls you, and he's asking you, hey, do you got some food here? What are you going to do? The fact that people can even come to you to offer a solution or even suggest what meal is a privilege, it's an honor. For those of us who are preachers, leaders, take it with humility and not arrogance. That people can come and seek counsel, can seek help. Let them come today, let them come tomorrow, because other people have been denied that opportunity that you have, and you are given it. Offer it for free. For free was given to you. So Thanksgiving is not just eating turkey, which is okay. It's not just marrying together and having fun, going on a trip. It's okay, but please, let it be a Thanksgiving moment. But you won't until, as you are reminded, Sandy, you look back, you reflect and remember, and then appropriate that remembrance by being a blessing to other people, and not making anybody's life any more miserable. Life is so tough for all of us to make it even more injurious. Let us remember and be grateful. And for the little things we take for granted, let us be grateful and be humble enough to know that we don't deserve it. Let us uplift those who are down there. Because if we are believers, we shall be known by our love. Not what we say. It's not how much we shout. You know, the early believers were called the people of the way. Before they were called Christians, they were called the people of the way. They lived in a certain way. Next time you see somebody being helpful to you, gracious to you, majority of them is because they have realized that grace has been poured to them, and therefore they are giving it out. I purpose for the rest of my life, and I told my congregation, if I were to change my name, I would call it Pew, P-I-O, pass it on. It has been given to you, pass it on to the other. And therefore, I thank God for your life, and for this Thanksgiving, let us be grateful, but let us begin by remembering, because once we remember, then it will not just be by mouth, it will be by action, and people will feel our gratitude because we're going to act it out. Have a great Thanksgiving, and God bless you.